Welcome to Focus on the Candidates. I'm Cynthia Pooler. My guest today is Dr. Helmut Love. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong.
It's
And
beautiful.
and he ran for mayor in Atlanta.
Atlanta, Georgia. That's right.
Okay. So when did you run?
I just ran, and we had the election this November, so just recently.
How did you do?
I did well. I was the last, the last in the race, but I started my candidacy in the spring, and I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, and we'll see where it goes from there.
So what was your goal? What did you want to accomplish that you feel happy about?
Uh, well, I've been on a spiritual journey for 2 years. I wrote a book called "Wake Up to Your Life Magic," and in that book, I really walked through four different areas that I see us struggling with as a society:
Hmm.
spirituality, loving spirituality, what I call heroic masculinity, which is men really still protecting women and protecting ourselves from all the distractions in the world. Morality, right? We'll do anything for $1 in the United States, and we'll say it's good. And merit-based wealth sharing. The wealth gap is the largest moral issue, and I think there are ways to solve it that we need to engineer and invest in, because AI is like this beautiful gift if we use it for the right things. So
Right.
I wrote this wonderful book, and I realized that the politician is a really key player in this area of wealth sharing: the politician, the billionaire, and the corporate leader. And so I realized I could sit on the sidelines and sort of, have a nice book, but to actually run, to actually go through the process of doing that was something that I wanted to do to make both an awareness, an understanding, and see what God brought up in me.
Okay.
And I ran as a Republican, which one would not normally think of for a gay father, a Christian gay father. And I did that because I believe in the principles of merit-based, meritocracy, but I believe in solving democratic issues. So what I realized is I really ran down the middle. I ran entirely solution focused, and I both had a social agenda for bringing peace to all the division, and using AI and tech to actually build solutions for democratic issues with private-public partnerships that Republicans often speak to, but um, don't actually do. Right? They'll often fail to deliver. Not all, but often. And so, for me, the process of standing firmly, walking into rooms where I've never been, someone like me has never been, um, a gay man who fights for children, who fights for spirituality back into schools and into the workplace and into government. And I say spirituality because I don't mean religion. I mean a
Okay.
belief in a higher purpose and a connection with one another. And many in the South, many Republican rooms haven't seen a person like me. So I was able to make connections in rooms where we have not been, despite people thinking that was, turning the other side from my own friends and family within the gay community. But sometimes you have to be willing to be the first. You have to be willing to step out and do something. Um, because I looked at the world and it was very, very concerning where we are. And unless
Mhm.
people start doing things that we don't expect and really serving one another, we're not going to get through this. I don't believe. I think we're in a place of great division, great selfishness, great greed, and it's going to take spiritually minded, servant based, and I believe corporate people, people who know money, who understand technology, to enter into the political sphere to actually bring solutions. That's just my belief. So I did it. I went through the extremely eye-opening process, and I also thought through everything I would actually do in office, whether it's for something as simple as, you know, um, infrastructure and water, right, to trees, to things that are more important, like how we're going to treat one another from an education perspective or healthcare. So
So when you decided to run, you said it was an eye-opening experience. What did you know then that you gain more of a knowledge right now?
I would say that um, it's a system of people, right? So you do have to get to know the people, meaning kind of standing up and saying, "Hey, I'm going to do this," right? The people are a little bit like, "What are you going to do? Who are you? What's
Right.
like?" So I think that's a natural process, right? People want to know you're trustworthy. People want to. So that part I um, didn't anticipate, but should have anticipated as a process, right? It's relationship building. It's not going to be like overnight. But that said, I would say that it was surprising to me, number one, how little people actually know about what's going on in their own city, their own town. That was shocking to me. We had pretty clear and concerning elements of corruption in our city that are documented and actually helped drive my interest. And people didn't know about it, right? And so you realize there's a system, and there are people who are very aware and are absolutely, um, I would say, corruptly managing things. And that's in both parties. That's something I came to a realization of corruption that I had not. Um, I wouldn't have believed as much. We kind of say, "Oh, yeah," but the fact that we all sort of agree that there's corruption, like that's concerning in and of itself. um, and I met people along the way who are really, really trying to do well, and I met people on the way who are really just part of a system. Um, the other thing is you have to have money. You have to find money, and that was something that was peculiar to me. I thought media would love a good story, right? And really love not just a good story, but a great platform. I certainly had an exceptional platform, a great pedigree, all those things. But what I realized was you could have all of that. But if you didn't have money, if you didn't have the funding and the backing, you're going to be silent, relatively speaking, because you have to get the people, right? And that was something um, I knew, but I underestimated the importance of that in the process.
Hmm. So the main criteria is money. So the press does not look at a candidate if they have not raised a certain amount of money. That's wrong. That's very wrong. But it's one of the things that causes our political system to be more and more corrupt.
Yeah, I can see that because the backers, right, of a candidate are really sort of, hey, we're all these businesses or these ideas. So I see some indication as to why that makes sense at one level. Um, but I agree with you as well. It seems like the media has the opportunity to create change, right? They could be the vessel for that change to occur and for conversation to happen in the square that would make our lives better.
Hmm.
But you're right, and having conversations with the media, there were two things I learned in that process, Cynthia, and this may be something you've already heard, I'm sure. One was that there was concern that an independent media man gave me that if you are an existing, one of the four players, let's say in the city of Atlanta for media, if you take a candidate who's not sort of bringing in those dollars, give them a stage and a platform, the incumbent may block information from your channel for other news. So there's that idea and concept that, they cannot really proponent or support the candidates who don't have the dollars because of the negative repercussion. The second thing was they are ultimately serving the public. So if the public only is so interested in a certain race, right? They're only going to be so interested in that race, and they need to make sure they're managing everything else. So your dollars help make you more attractive for them as a business. So it's both was I guess that was both a political reason for again hitting business, and then another one was business. So you realize the way they make money and how they make money doesn't encourage that sort of freelancing investigation of someone without money.
But making money should not be the ultimate goal. I mean, we're talking about elections, we're talking about quote unquote democracy, and it's not about money, it's about ideas and you know, how brave that person is, stepping into the arena. And if you're going to be overlooked by the press, that's not good. And that's why it's important for people to understand the social media aspect of it. And a lot of candidates do not know the ins and outs of social media.
Yeah, I also found that, so I did some of the social media components, right, to do that. But what you realize too is even access to social media is usually driven by um, one, I think, like if I were to go back now and do something differently, I would have gone to more churches, synagogues, and temples earlier, right? Again, I started in the spring, so I didn't do a whole lot of runway, but I would have gone earlier. But part of the process of going through everything taught me where I actually stood, right? So for me, I was accomplished and I did what I needed to do so that I can run again, right? Or do this again. Um,
Would you?
I wouldn't do it. I would know what I was facing into. And I also believe, Cynthia, I am a very spiritual person. I believe that all things work out um, in God's plan. And I feel like this process was the first step for me to hopefully understand where God really wants me to serve and how. Um, and that's a beautiful thing in life, that nothing's wasted, right? And I pray that God uses me because it's so important. It's so important. What's going on right now in the world? We've been fighting for values the entire Earth story,
Mhm.
the entire Earth story. And I look at, I'm not going to say that it's only Judeo-Christian because other cultures have come to value the same things, but valuing the equality of women, valuing the equality of races, valuing LGBT people, these are core, concrete values. And then valuing your neighbor, right? The lowest quote, the most hurt person. Those are really important. And I feel like we're asking ourselves a values question in America, and we're the leader of the world. So that means the world is asking a values question. And I feel like there are enemies of good on the left and on the right that would tear that down. And it's going to take, I'm going to go back to it again, spiritual clarity in what we're doing. Because there's, whether it's fascism or socialism, both of those have entry points to ideologies that are anti-women, that are anti-racist, that are anti-gay, that are loving our neighbors. And so that's where we're at. So it matters. It matters profoundly.
Hmm. So, given everything you learned,
Yes.
would you run for mayor again, or do you have something else in your sights?
Oh, So I'll tell you why Mayor felt really right. Mayor felt really right because I, if you ever worked inside of a large corporation, there's sort of like a general manager, right? And then there's the CEO. And Mayor feels right because it's on the ground, right?
Mm,
It's really with the people. It's figuring out how that service works, that service works, that service works. So there's an appeal in Mayor that says, hey, I'm going to really improve and innovate the economy and the air, this. Now that's under the governor, under the president, right?
mhm.
Um, I would entertain other roles, absolutely. Um, but I haven't felt the connection that I have to the mayor, um, because I am very attracted to the executive roles because it is about where the rubber hits the road, right?
Mm,
About actually implementing. And also the creativity in business. And I mean business, meaning the business of people, right? How are we going to get creative about our homeless? How are we going to get creative about housing? How are we going to? Those are the real hard problems. And I feel like seeing them and experiencing them on the ground informs you to
mm.
take another leap, right? And I'd be blessed to have, 4 years or 8 years in that kind of a role to really understand so that if I took then a next role, I had a broader understanding. But it doesn't have to be. That's just my thinking today.
Right. Have you always had an interest in politics?
Absolutely not.
Oh boy.
Meaning I would say that I ran from the stage, I ran from microphones, I ran from strong political beliefs, um, for a good portion of my life. But that's because I was running from me in a lot of areas. And as I worked through healing myself, healing in my community, I ran a podcast for the LGBT community for three
Mhm,
years. After I did some coaching of gay men and then a men's group. And in that process, when you took to podcasting, all of a sudden I was asking all kinds of questions on air, right? Whether it was my views on spirituality, my views on politics, my views on, uh, you know, fetishes, like whatever. And so once you start opening up, right? And then like I said, I kind of had a spiritual awakening to write my book. All of a sudden, it became clear to me that I had a reason to have a strong opinion. And there was a greater story going on. And I've always been a part of it. I just wasn't aware of it. And I think once you're aware that you're a part of a larger, great human story, now all of a sudden politics really matter. And so I was driven to it, kind of like they say, don't become a preacher or a rabbi unless you have to. I felt
mhm.
like I had to step into the arena.
Okay. So, what was the biggest lesson you learned about jumping into the political arena?
Um, that it is a game, it's a solo game. At the end of the day, it is you have to be strong. Now, you're going to play with others, so it's not a solo game entirely. You're going to need connections, relationships, etc. But you better be prepared to be isolated. You better be prepared to stand alone. You better be prepared that people that said you were your friends are not going to show up for you. You're going to have to realize that you are fighting not just truth, you're fighting perception, right? You're fighting this. No matter what you say you are, if someone is reading and seeing and seeing and seeing this over and over that says you're something different, they're going to believe this
Mhm.
over you, which is scary. Um, but that means you have to stand up regardless.
Hmm.
of their view. You could have a friend that you've known forever, and now you've said, I'm doing this way. They're making a decision. Is he strong enough to be himself, or is he going to become like that thing I see here?
Hmm.
Right. And so I didn't expect this solitude. Um, and I didn't expect to stand in so many rooms and be the only person like me. And that was okay, but it was a lot of that.
That's scary.
It is. I think God prepared me for that most of my life.
That's a good outlet to take.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, being a gay father with three kids, in the gay community, I would often be in a room of all lesbians, right? Or a room of all black trans women, or a room of, all gay men with no kids, like whatever, right? So in some ways, uh, God has been preparing me for that kind of a stand for a long time. Um, but now you're talking about you might walk into a room and you'd be like, most of the gay men here don't support trans people. Or you walk into another room and you go, a lot of the people here don't believe gay people should really be doing what you're doing. Right. So you have to be strong enough to stand in a room where people don't agree with you to change that room. And yeah,
That's tough.
it is. But
That's
you know
very
what?
tough.
If someone doesn't do it, who's going to do it, Cynthia?
This is true. This is true. So do you have a copy of your book that you could hold up?
I do. This is Wake Up to Your Life Magic.
Okay,
Yeah.
terrific. And
Yeah.
where could people get it?
You can get it on Amazon. It's available there, and it does go a little bit into my politics as well. So,
Okay, great, great. So, final thoughts.
final thoughts. Well, I think what you're doing here, first of all, is really wonderful. I want to thank you so much for having me on the show, Cynthia. It really is wonderful because you are encouraging dialogue, communication, and storytelling. That's so important to the evolution of the political theater. Um, my final thoughts is that um, I believe that the ending can be very positive for America. I really do. I have a really strong faith. I believe nothing that we're going through is by accident. I think that we are going to have to fight, though. Every generation has to fight. And I guess my prayer is really back to the point of my book is that people need to wake up and realize that there is a much greater purpose and meaning to all of this that we're in. And I think that bringing that to the spiritual, political arena and not
Mhm.
apologizing for that is something that people are looking for. People are searching for the answers. And I'm just praying that there are enough of us that wake up in America to make sure we push forward into the next generation because they deserve it. And yeah, I guess those are my final thoughts.
Now, if you said that people are looking for answers, right?
Yes.
How many of those people do you think would step into the political arena as you have?
I believe that people will only step into the political arena when they are full of their purpose. Meaning you can't step in, if you're stepping in because you want to make some money, right? You want to use it for a money agenda and for fame and for all that, those are they are what they are, and that's your agenda. But if you're stepping in with purpose, um, because you're awake, you can't do it. You can't do it just sort of, just because on a whim. You really have to have purpose, because only purpose is going to get you, only your mission is going to get you through all the negative aspects of the journey.
Hmm. So, um, as your plans evolve, would you come back on Focus on the Candidates to talk about them?
Absolutely. When I have clarity, I will absolutely do that, Cynthia. That'd be a joy.
Okay, thank you. So you've been listening to Dr. I'm sorry. You
Helmut. It means protector in German. Helmut.
Helmut Love. I'm Cynthia Pooler. This is Focus on the Candidates. If you like the show, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you, Helmut. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a wonderful day.
Cheers.